Next on the speaker slot, we have a very good friend of mine, recently retired, sold his, business, and has created an example that I hope to follow someday. In his retirement, he has dedicated himself to helping people who stutter in their careers and business. That's the world that he comes from, and he was very successful. It gives me great pleasure to introduce my good friend, Larry Stein.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, it's great to see you, Tom. And it's good to see everyone here. You'll have to excuse me, I've kind of been sick. And so if I reach to have a drink of water, you'll understand the antibiotics are kicking in, but they're not quite there yet. Um, so let me just ask, I come from a very different orientation from probably what you've seen. Um, what I do now is I help people with their speech all over the world at no cost. And I've been doing that for a few years and lots of success stories. Who are now giving speeches. They're all people kind of mostly in the business world who they have jobs, but they feel they could do so much more. And so I help them really improve their speech and handle the challenging situations that come in the business world. And basically, what I did for myself is I was in my mid 50s. I realized that I had opened up my own firm. I was 55 years old. I had my own firm for a year by that time in the investment field. I couldn't get any clients because well, I couldn't say my name. I couldn't call people on the phone. Fortunately, email had just gotten started then, so would email people, make meetings with people, but I couldn't ask for $1 million. Well, I could, but I had a very severe stutter, very severe. It improved over the years, and so I realized I had to do something. So I basically relearned to speak. I addressed the psychological issues, which are never ending. And then I went through one speaking situation after another in very small steps, up and up the ladder until I was finally able to say my name, the age of 57. Built my business in very short order uh, in about 7 years, and I realized then that I really wanted to devote myself to helping people with their speech. So I have a whole presentation I can do, but what I'd rather do is answer questions. So if anyone has questions, and I'll be very, very frank. Tom and I have talked a lot. We don't sugarcoat. I will be totally honest about what really goes on in the business world with a stutter, and or at least my experience and the experiences of the people I help all over the world. And it's uh, the surprising part when I got started doing this. I know some very high end speech therapists, and they all said, whatever you did, it, it only helped you. And it's nice that you did that, but it won't help anyone else. And everyone's stutter is so different and all that. And you know what? Everyone's stutter is a little different, but our experiences are so similar. I've helped people in Kathmandu. I have a lot of people in Australia. They're all over the world. And you know what? Our stories are all the same. I even have a guy who I help who grew up in Liberia. And when I launched my book, I'll even show you my book, Free to Speak, a year ago or so. There's my book. Um, he was at my launch party and he spoke. He said, "I'm Larry Stein. I've lived the same life." This is a guy who grew up in Africa. We have the same life. Kathmandu, same life, wherever they are. So I can give a presentation. I'd rather just answer questions. And so if anyone has any thoughts, anything they want to ask, go ahead. And if not, I'll just do a presentation.
I've got a question for you, Larry.
Ah, okay.
Does stuttering affect business?
Well, I can tell you. All right. So quick question. Everyone can hear me fine? Dove? Okay, good. All right. So Tom asked, does stuttering affect business? In terms of my experience, um, when I was an employee, it wasn't that big of an impact. Uh, at one point, here's an interesting story. So I was um, I was 37. I had gone through lots of depressions and all that stuff. I finally found something I could do because, frankly, I didn't know what I could do in the business world. My stuttering was very severe. And so I was 37, and I had finally gotten a job that I could live with. I was a CPA, a master's in tax, hated accounting. I I just didn't know what I could do because I was looking for something I could do that I wouldn't have to talk much. And so I found the field of investor relations where I could write and write for people write for companies. And so I did that for 5 years. The CEO of that company left, so I felt I needed to move on. I got um, an interview at this consulting firm in Chicago that did investor relations, met with the CEO, and no, I went through the interview process, which was fortunately not an interview. It was just a writing thing. So I was safe there. I barely had to talk. And the CEO calls me up at 9:40 at night. I'll never forget. And and he offered me a job. And he said, you're a terrific writer. You'll be great. And isn't it great? You're going to be interfacing with CEOs and CFOs of publicly traded companies. I said, I don't think I can do that. And he said, why? I said, and I was just trying to come up with words I could say that wouldn't give me away as a severe stutter. And there's Jennifer again. You come in, you come out. What's with you? Anyways, so uh he said, I know you have a stuttering problem. He said, it might be difficult at first, but when they see your work, it'll be okay. You'll see. And you know what? I had turned down the job originally. I ended up taking the job, and um, it was difficult at first. And I finally got uh, going. But the important thing that people don't realize is number one, yes, stuttering definitely held me back in my career. There's no question. Um, and everyone I talk to in the people I help, again, there's like 10 people around the world, and everyone says if I didn't stutter, I would be further ahead in my career. Now, many of them are doing pretty well, but they all feel that, well, and that's the reason that they come to me is they've gone through traditional speech therapy and they've had some improvement, but they come to me because I've lived it. I've lived it. And so everyone feels they've been held back by it. So to answer your question, Tom, yes, particularly if you're in an interfacing thing like I was, you can be an employee, I think, in many respects, but can you get to the top? Can you move up the ladder? Very difficult, very difficult. So it does hold you back. And but there are people who actually get around it. you know um uh I had to begin my own firm to actually uh uh get to where I wanted to go. And so but the interesting thing nowadays, and I'd be interested to hear from the group, is that people are saying, well, I'm uh, I'm trying to accept my stutter. I believe in acceptance, or I'm an advocate for stuttering. Those kind of things. All very nice, but when you have a severe stutter like I had, I don't know how you can accept it. Maybe I'm wrong. Jennifer is a therapist. Maybe you can shed light on that. But I I I knew that I was terribly underemployed, and a lot of people I know who are stutterers, well, everyone I know, feel that they aren't doing as much as they can because their stuttering's holding them back, and that's what we work on together. So to answer that question, it may not have to, but from the experience I've seen, yes, it does. Um, so Hal, you had a question? You're
Me
on mute.
unmute. Okay,
Nice to
okay,
see
yes.
you.
Okay, okay. My question is with reference to BEP. You
Okay.
say that you have practiced this method so much that now it is automatic with you.
Uh-huh.
Agree, agree, I understand. But my question is, when you are in some speaking situation,
Uh-huh.
wherever uh, you concentrate on your I mean audience and on what you have to say, as per my understanding, as you have told me, I mean during the Zoom meeting with you.
Uh-huh.
And my question is, then what is at the back of your mind? Though your procedure has become automatic, I mean BEP, it is now automatic with you. But at least you have a frame of mind while talking, though you don't concentrate on it. But I mean, your what is your state of mind? Are you? I mean, do you try to relax yourself while speaking, or do you keep reminding yourself? I mean, subconsciously
Nope.
about the BEP.
Nothing.
This is my question. Okay.
Good question. Nice to see you. So, for the massive audience here watching, hundreds of people, um, no. The answer to all your questions is no. Let me go through that. So Sohail referenced BEP. BEP is just something, just an easy way for me to remember what I was doing when I was beginning my journey, which was about a 2-year journey, um, to improve my speech, to save my business, basically. And so all it is breathe, emphasize, phrase. And to make it simpler, I realized that, if I was going to build my business, that I had to become a really effective speaker. Didn't have to become perfectly fluent, although I became pretty much perfectly fluent. There's no cure to stuttering, but once in a while I'll notice one little blip here. People usually don't even notice, but there is no cure. Let's get that over. But all I was trying to do is become a really effective speaker, and um, so I really studied how really good speakers speak. People on television, most specifically Matt Lauer, and I realized that they speak in phrases. They speak with a lot of expression, and they breathe before they speak. And I related that to singing, and I can go on with that. You can ask a question on that. So to answer Sohail's question, do I concentrate? No, not at all. If it's a technique, if I don't even call it BEP, but if you techniques will fail, not in a clinician's office, will fail in a high pressure situation. And in my business world, I was in a high pressure situation. I was getting to know people who I never knew. I had my own name on the business, and I wasn't Merrill Lynch. I wasn't Goldman Sachs, so people didn't know me. And I was asking for $1 million or more. Now, I don't know if any one of you have asked someone for $1 million. It's not an easy ask. Plus, you have to build a relationship before that. And so I realized that if it were going to be a technique, I would never build this business. And frankly, my family would be in a lot of difficulty. I had 2 kids, both were in private schools out east, costing a fortune, and my back was up against the wall. So I really studied professional speakers, how they speak, and I actually became a professional speaker. People pay me to do speeches. Um, and is it in the back of my mind? No, it's not. If it's in the back of your mind, then it's a technique, and the techniques are going to fail. I made it me. And if you're going to look at things as a technique, they're going to fail. You have to do it all the time. You have to make it you. It's a big commitment. I literally threw away how I spoke, which wasn't going to get me anywhere. And I adopted this idea that I'm going to sound and look like a professional speaker. And I think, if you look at me right now, you'd say, wow, that guy looks like a professional speaker. And I am. It's not an easy thing to do, but the actual mechanics, let's call them mechanics, are just one little piece of the whole thing. The mechanics are, you know, um, mechanics are essential to have good speaking mechanics, and most people have pretty good speaking mechanics. But when I take on new people, and I just took on a guy from Australia, and in most cases, we need to really work on speaking mechanics because people who stutter, like I had horrible speaking mechanics, and but then we get into the psychological stuff, which is where you really make progress. And then I literally went every speaking situation one at a time in very small steps. And again, at the top was to be able to say my name, and I can go up to anyone and just Larry Stein. Larry Stein. I can walk around a room of people I don't know, which I do, and I will walk around a room and I'll introduce myself to everyone. But it was really hard work. But here's what people don't realize, and it drives me crazy with this whole acceptance thing, that I'm just trying to accept myself, is that yes, it's really hard work. And people who are therapists, they get very angry at me for saying that people should work hard and try and improve their speech. But here's what they don't know, is that once you start making real progress on your speech, once you begin to see that the progress is real, it's not that up and down stuff, that it's real progress, it becomes exhilarating. It's like you're on it, I used to feel like I was in like a jungle, like the Amazon jungle. I had a machete in my hand and I'm cutting through the forest, and I'm going toward my goal. I'm going toward my treasure. And it was the most exhilarating time of my life, really, to explore this. And I found that, you know what? I'm not this meek guy who sits in the corner and lets my wife do all the talking. I'm a totally different person. And people who I work with, the most exciting thing to me, and again, I do this at no charge at all. Most exciting thing is to see them when they say to me, they say, I didn't realize who I was. I didn't realize I could do this. I didn't realize that I am this person who can really enjoy conversations, who can, they say to me, I didn't realize that these people who I thought I knew for all these years, I didn't know them at all because I never asked them questions. I was always listening. I wasn't getting to really know them as people. The joy of human connection, of building this warmth, of really expressing yourself, I cannot express how beautiful it is. And people who don't start it, they just take it for granted. But for me, I still, and it's been 13 years, I still come out of a conversation, I still go, wow, I really enjoyed that. That was really special. I really,
So,
these
can I
are
just ask
special
you,
moments.
so Larry, can I ask you a question? Okay. Do you ever think about stuttering? Does it ever enter your mind when you're giving a speech? Does it ever enter your mind that I'm going to stutter on a word? And say if you do you change that word?
Very good. Is it Robert or is it Bob?
Robert,
Robert. You're from Australia?
come from God's country, Australia.
Australia. Yeah. Terrific. Great to meet you. I work with two people who are in Australia.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, they're terrific. Okay. So do I think about stuttering? I'd love to tell you that I never think about stuttering, but once in a while, like like for instance, during COVID, where I wasn't talking to that many people in person. Yeah, and I mean, even now, if I haven't made phone calls in a while and I'm calling someone important who I don't know, I'll say, oh, I'll, have that momentary thought and go, oh, come on, and do that. But I will tell you this, Robert, that during COVID, there was a break in the COVID, and I was supposed to give a series of 3 speeches over, about 20, 30 hours, let's say, 3 speeches, each 3 hours each, to groups of CEOs, heads of companies in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I hadn't given a talk in person for a year. I had done Zoom things, but I hadn't given a talk for money in person for over a year, maybe a year and a half at that time. And I fly to Minneapolis. I rent my car. I'm driving to the presentation, and I get to the door. I'm going, can I do this still? I don't know. I don't know if I could do this. I had a momentary question. And I do sometimes have momentary questions. And, like if I'm traveling overseas, which I do a lot, and I'm in like a market and they're speaking a foreign language and it's going fast, and I can regress for a moment and then I'll catch myself. I'll kind of laugh about it. So yes. So in that case, I just decided, you know what? I'm going to be so expressive in the beginning. I was actually getting anxious about it. And I decided I'm going to be so expressive. So, I actually began the presentation asking a series of questions. And I was so expressive and so opposite of stuttering. So that I burnt off all that anxiety in a couple minutes. I said, I got this. I'm fine. But yeah, once in a while, I'll have those thoughts. And, there is no cure. There is no cure. But I guess I've gotten to a point where it really isn't a thought to me. And but I'm not quite a perfect speaker. I'm really not. There is a moment here and there.
I can
But
understand that,
we don't have
because
to be perfect. Oh, go ahead, Robert.
No, because basically I can understand that because to me public speaking is easy because I've done lots of public speaking, but to me it's easy
Easiest thing.
because I am a frustrated actor. Okay, I've been on stage lots of times, but to me, doing a public speech is just like acting. You've got the floor. You've got the floor. No one's going to interrupt you. No one's going to do anything. You can take your
Exactly.
time. You can do anything that you want. But people get so tense. I can't understand, okay? And maybe it's something in my mind, but people get so scared of public speaking. They're petrified, you know. But this is so-called fluent speaker because to me, just like you said, there is no such thing as a fluent speaker. I've never in my whole life on this earth heard a fluent speaker. They all, yeah, but you know, it's all gobbledygook, you know.
Well, I
Because
don't know about that, but
that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to iron out all the ers and all the ums in my speech, so it sounds perfect. But there is no perfect speech. Though.
yeah. So you asked about, do I substitute words?
Yeah.
And that was a big moment for me because after I'd improved my speech a lot, I said, you know, I'm going to try not substituting words. I am going to, if I stutter, it's okay, but I'm not going to substitute words because my mind was going like a million miles a minute and there was no rest from it. It was like the ping pong balls in those old lottery machines, you know, boom, 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 boom. My mind was going crazy. And I said, that's enough of this. I am going to stop substituting words. And if I stutter, I stutter. Now, this wasn't in the beginning. This was after over a year. I made a lot of progress. I was feeling pretty confident. I had made what Sohail calls BEP, which I used to call it that. And I made that automatic. I worked through a lot of the psychological stuff. I said, I'm not going to substitute words. And you know what? I did have some more stutters, but that's okay because my mind, all that frenetic, slowed down, and now I'm 68 years old. I can tell you that I have a better memory. I'm able to do 3-hour speeches with no notes. Honestly, 3-hour speeches with no notes because my mind is clear. My focus when I speak, whether it's in a conversation or a public speaking, my focus is on you, whoever I'm speaking with. My focus is on you. It's not on this, it's on you. I have two goals. I want to enjoy the conversation and I want to give. I want to give something of myself. So if I'm focused on this, you're not giving, you're focused on yourself. Everything I do, this became my psychological main strategy was to do the opposite of stuttering. So if I'm focused on this, no. I want to be focused outward. Rather than take, because I was always begging for help for everything, because of how severe my stuttering was, I was always asking for help. No, I'm going to give. Rather than substitute words, I'm going to say exactly what I want to say. Rather than shorten what I was going to say to the fewest words possible, I'm going to lengthen it. I am going to do everything opposite to my stuttering inclinations because when you stutter for 50 years, a lot of things get built up. Okay. Thank you, Robert. Good question. Anyone else? Jennifer, how about you? You're a speech therapist. You have to ask something. Come on, I'll put you on the spot. You're a professional.
Putting me on the spot. So it sounds like I don't know you, but I've listened to you.
Everyone listens to me. Yes.
Yeah.
And my wife
So
and kids.
I think that your personality seems to jive really well with this sort of approach that you're using.
Ah,
And
oh, keep going,
so I
because I'm
think
going to
that it
surprise you.
works really well for you. And I think that that's fantastic. And I love how you're sharing it. Um, I, I tend to look at the communication piece of it in terms of not only speech, but the eye contact and body language and tone of voice and posture. And I like to think of that as as like a whole picture
Absolutely.
of what kind of a communicator you are. So that's how I tend to
Well,
look.
I
So I
wish
don't
we
know
were in person. Yeah.
if you think of that as well. So
Absolutely. So I continue to do some public speaking. I don't do it for money anymore. I give a talk to a group at a senior facility every Friday night, and um, I'm like their entertainment. And I literally walk around this room. I give everyone eye contact, and I walk around this room, and I'm basically their entertainment. I challenge them and all that. But here's what I wanted to address with you. So you said, your personality really fits what you're doing, and isn't that great? But not everyone is like that, right? My parents, so today would be my dad's like 99th birthday. My dad died like, I don't know, 33 years ago. My mom died 25 years ago. The person they knew was not this person. The person they knew was most of the time depressed, mostly quiet, rarely talked, or if I talked, I had some pet phrases that I knew I could say. They didn't know this. My wife didn't know this, and frankly, she hasn't even gotten used to it. This is all, this is how, this is the real me. And that person was not the person that I was. So, so when you say, well, that fits with your personality, I became this person. This was not me. And the surprising thing for the people who I help with their speech is they find that is true for them too. They're doing things that they never dreamed of doing. It's not that I'm pushing them. I'm just doing things in very small steps, but they finally build some confidence and they take it to the next level. They're the ones who are all of a sudden exploring things. A lot of them use the term something like, uh, I just want to see how far I can take this. And so they're becoming different people and realizing that, wow, I'm beginning to feel like the real me, not like this compromised version of me. So my parents, I hope they know I'm doing okay because they knew me as a very depressed person who was very quiet, was always in the corner. In fact, to the point where we have family reunions, and first time I went, people didn't realize that my parents had 3 children. They thought they only had 2. I was the third. No one knew me. So I hope that answers your question. Go ahead, Tom. You're going to come in here because we're kind of getting low on time.
Yeah, jumping in here. Thank you for recognizing that. We're going to move you to breakout room number 2 and to continue your presentation. So if anyone wants to follow Larry over to breakout room number 2, feel free to do so for a Q&A. He's got he's got a lot of fascinating concepts and a lot of good stuff. So if you hear something that resonates, be sure to follow him over to breakout room number 2. So, while you're here, Larry, do you have any final thoughts in this room before moving over to breakout room number 2?
First of all, breakout number 2 is fantastic. That's my favorite breakout. Um, so
Perfect.
really enjoyed meeting you guys. And again, if you want to look at my book, it's free to speak. I think you'll find it really interesting. I hold nothing back. It is a brutal look at my largely depressed life and how I got through that. And I have lots of articles and videos. Stein on stuttering.com. I'm on YouTube and all that. And more so, if you just want to talk, let me know. I am always up for a conversation. There's never any charge for anything that I do. And I'm here to give to the community. It was great to meet with all of you.